Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Mark from SolarGames, and today we're going to talk about a huge piece of news that dropped earlier, I guess earlier today or whatever, about Marvel, right? So, Magic the Gathering basically signed on a huge deal with Marvel to bring Marvel into the Universes Beyond crossover of Magic, and at this point, Marvel is Magic, and Magic is Marvel, right? Um, Not to be hyperbolic, I do think that this was maybe somewhat expected. Now, I don't know if I think I talked about this too in the earlier days of like us talking about universes beyond that. We're gonna get to a point where everything is in Magic to the point where it doesn't really matter anymore, right? And yeah. Anyways, on to the actual facts of what happened. Basically, Wizard of the Coast announced this, big like collaboration with Marvel. It's gonna actually be multiple tentpole sets. So again, just so for the people who don't understand what tentpole sets are like kind of your main sets. That means they're gonna have a draft booster, set booster, collective booster, potentially even pre-release, potentially even a bunch of like prize support and special things around it, and of course commander decks and all the other product lines to kind of go with it. That's what a tentpole set is for Magic. Now, what they're doing with Marvel is even beyond what they've done with Lord of the Rings and other things. They're going to make multiple tentpole sets, which means like, for example, set one could be X-Men focus, and set two could be, like Avenger focus or something like that, and set three could be focused on all the villains or whatever, right? So they're almost building the Marvel story into Magic. Think of like how multiple sets to kind of build the story up. Like War of the Spark was a really good example of this, or the Phyrexia War, right, that we just finished, something like that, but with Marvel. Now, obviously, this is coming off of the news of like Wizard of the Coast killing draft, and everything is focused on Commander nowadays as far as design goes. I mean, if you think about it, all the resources at WotC basically goes to Commander because they know the Commander players shell out big money for showcase cards, special arts, whatever, and these hype, cool, fancy treatments is definitely driving all that is Magic nowadays, right? And Marvel, of course, I mean, like it's a iconic IP. It has legendary characters, right? That you remember, and of course, everybody wants to build their own deck. Like you want to build an Iron Man deck, you want to build a Thanos deck. You already know a bunch of people are going to build whatever cool idea deck they have in Marvel, and they're going to do it in Magic because that's the format that we have now, right? And the problem I have with this, and this is the problem I've had with all universes beyond, and you guys know, like there are some universes beyond I love, right? I love the Walking Dead stuff. I love the Warhammer stuff. I love the Warhammer universes beyond. But I really, really, really wish that we didn't have any of this stuff in Magic because I do think it dilutes the Magic IP. Now, you can argue with me that there is no Magic IP. There was never Magic IP. What is the story? Nobody cares. Like, yes, I agree. But part of that is like saying, there is no Magic IP because Wizard of the Coast never spent any time building it, right? It's not like they spent all this time building it. It didn't work out. I think they actually didn't put any effort into it at all, truly. And I think part of the problem is like, there's no identifying like parts of Magic anymore, and so much of the effort, right? Because nowadays it's not just about like building a game, building a story, and that's it. You have to put all the things around it too, right? So we're talking about like Netflix TV shows, series, whatever. I mean, there was a lot of potential, right? So like Neon Dynasty with that little anime like music video was really good, right? And I felt like there was a longer story behind that we could have really fleshed out. All of the animation, if you remember, like one of the things I love the most, one of the Magic trailers I loved the most was the War of the Sparks trailer. I remember it was like the music was like Linkin Park, right? And they had like Liliana like going up to fight Bolas, but the whole thing was like in reverse, right? So they did like a time reversal thing. I thought that was so cool, and you saw all your like characters, Gideon dying on the side, that kind of stuff. All the zombies coming in, zombie horde, that kind of stuff. There's just so many cool things about that I think just that was Magic. That was a lot of what people cared about, like iconic characters like Jace, Liliana, Nicol Bolas, those kind of characters. But nowadays, people just don't care. But the reason isn't actually because the story sucks or anything like that. The reason is because I think Wizards doesn't care and they don't try. And they think it's a waste of money and time and effort to go and push all of this like magic stories when we could just collaborate and then like make money, right? Have somebody else's IP sell our products. And I can see the value of that. From a business perspective, I can totally see what those guys, execs at, Hasbro, whatever, is thinking. Part of the problem, though, of course, is this collaboration, just like probably like the Lord of the Rings, is going to be very, very, very expensive, right? So, when you're dealing with Disney, when you're dealing with Marvel, we're not talking like oh, here's a 20% royalty, here's a 25% royalty. Likely half or more, especially because, Disney has their own games. Look, first of all, like I know Lorcana right now is like not Marvel, it's just classic Disney characters, right? That doesn't mean that in the future they don't include the Marvel stuff, right? There's always room for that because again, it's all Disney IP. Number two is, look, there's Marvel Snap. There's a bunch of Marvel games already out there. So Marvel's been pretty aggressive licensing themselves out. And in some ways, I think that's really smart of Marvel because they're just expanding that IP. And this is what I mean. Like nowadays, you can't just build IP based on like, again, one single thing. You have to do it in multiple different ways. Imagine there was an anime like from the Neon Dynasty storyline that we kind of got a glimpse and preview of, but there was a full anime. And I'm not asking for like 50 episodes. I'm asking for like, let's say we do a 12 episode quick series type of thing. And same art style that we saw in that, trailer, right? Had we had that and people were like, what is this anime? It's really good. Like, oh, it's a card game? Oh, can I play this card game? Just imagine how much it builds your characters. Like people are now curious about Kaito or the Wandering Emperor or all these little things like this, right? And then imagine you continue that, like the Fire Legacy All We Won whole story arc becomes like a 12 episode like recap type of thing. Because they already have this base story laid down, right? And they could totally just build that into some sort of TV show. Maybe this time you don't do an anime, right? You do more of a, I don't know, like a different digital animation, 3D. Maybe you get real actors to go act it out. I'm not sure, right? There's obviously some amount of money you have to invest into this thing, but the long-term investment of this means that you can have recognizable characters that you can sell external. Imagine instead of Magic now taking in all these other IPs like Marvel, having a piece or whatever, Magic says, hey, you know what? You guys over there, right? Marvel Snap, you guys can have Liliana as a character. You guys can have Jace as a character. Oh, Hearthstone, I see you. You guys can have a, like Kranko Goblin as a character within Hearthstone, as a guest crossover, right? Universes beyond Hearthstone, right? That's where that power of that IP comes. And look, and there's nothing wrong with having, I don't know, like, we have Monopoly, like, whatever. Why don't we have Magic the Gathering Monopoly? It's the same company too, right? So they could just really shift that IP. The reason is nobody cares. I don't want to have like a Liliana character walking around to Boardwalk, right? But if you built your IP well this way, I think players would want that. And I think it's kind of stupid. I think Monopoly is a dumb game. But I get it. Like, I understand there's going to be people who want to buy that stuff. And that's what I don't see Wizards of the Coast doing. And I'm afraid, though, that like what has happened at Wizards of the Coast nowadays is that a bunch of, I don't know, like dumb people who don't understand Magic the Gathering, came to work for Wizards, basically didn't understand what Magic is and did not spend any effort to try to understand it. And so they said, you know what? I think it's dumb. I'm going to destroy it. I'm going to do this instead. Now, again, they're not trying to destroy it because that's probably not their intention. However, if you don't understand what something is, you don't understand why it was there, and you don't really care about the past, and you just say, for the future of Magic, I want to do something different, yeah, you are destroying it. And I mean, there's no other way to like say it, right? You're shaping it into what you believe it should be, but maybe what you believe it should be isn't what it should be. Maybe if you really believe in something else, then you should go build that something else as a separate game. You shouldn't go wreck someone else's game, right? And I think because this thing that these people kind of started building is actually getting money, right? Obviously, the Walking Dead Secret Lair sold pretty well. Warhammer Beyond super well. I mean, this is like, I think they had like 4 print runs, whatever. Definitely was selling super well. Doctor Who, so far, I'm seeing the numbers. It looks like it sold well too. Like, all these are good examples of them saying, hey, continue doing these things that you're doing, right? Again, short term, lots of money. Short term, probably really good sales numbers, and it's going to be good. Look, with Hasbro's earnings call coming up in like 2 days, 3 days, obviously they want to have all these numbers. They want to have all this like good data. It's going to look really good for them. But long term, and this is where I really, really, really worried, right? Long term, there is not going to be Magic the Gathering anymore. It's going to be basically like Weiss, right? And if you think about a game like Weiss, where it has like all this collaborations, crossovers, whatever, and I get it. Look, if the company exists, they must be making some money, right? But go to any LGS. Are there like a ton of people playing Weiss? Is that a thing? Is that like popular here? And that's what I'm afraid. It's like, I think long term, Magic is going to get to that level where it's all about collectability. It's all about like, these specific cards that showcase this, that, you want to see Iron Man in a, I don't know, like a Magic card, and you want to put that on your wall. I get it. But like, all of this is gone. This era of Magic, what this represented, why we like this, is all gone. And look, I'm just some old dude, right? Who's all about nostalgia. But like, this is the problem with Magic. Long term, there is no Magic. And long term, because there's no Magic, there's no players. Look, that whole Marvel thing is going to fade. And unless like Magic the Gathering is just going to become like a shell, a rules shell for Marvel's card game, then I don't know what the purpose of all this collaboration long term is. Because again, it's a card game. Once these cards come into Magic, they can't really leave Magic, right? So you're going to be kind of stuck with these collaboration things forever. And, like, I don't know if long term, even like at some point, let's say 10 years from now, when everyone realizes that was a bad phase of Magic the Gathering, not having its own IP, we're going to kind of redirect or ship back and shift everything over. Is it too late? Because those cards exist. What are you going to do? Like ban all the Universes Beyond stuff? I guess that's an option, right? Maybe with everything on the table, that's an option. But I fear that all of this Universes Beyond is going to lead to some really bad decisions by Magic the Gathering, by Wizards of the Coast, by Hasbro, that long-term will destroy their IP, right? One example of these like bad decision, I'll just kind of throw it out there, is remember how the One Ring was really powerful in Lord of the Rings? It completely shifted Modern. It basically caused a bunch of problems, right? Well, what if Marvel comes out and, they have to make Thanos really strong. They have to make, I don't know, Iron Man super strong. They have to make Infinity Gauntlet and all the Power Stones super strong. And these cards shift how the game works in a way that it pushes the level of power creep and, progression of all the cards and what they can do to another tier. And continuously, our game is going to feel more and more like, those kind of games that we don't like. See, I think a lot of players, I truly believe a lot of players chose Magic because they don't want to be in a game where they feel like every single set they get power creeped out and all their decks are meaningless unless they get the newest cards, right? And Magic used to have this really nice horizontal progression where it's basically like some cards of the new set really are good by themselves, but they don't overall become more powerful. They don't replace your current cards. But unfortunately, nowadays it's feeling more and more like we are being pushed out, right? A lot of the cards are rotating your non-rotational formats. And that could be a problem long-term for Magic. Now, if you lose all the players that play Modern, Pioneer, all these other formats, and all you have is just Commander, maybe it works out. Maybe Magic just becomes Commander only and it works out fine. But I think one of the best parts about Magic is that it has more than one format, that it has a lot of players who are interested in different things about Magic. And if we start losing some of that because Wizards of the Coast can't hold identity, Wizards of the Coast can't figure out exactly how to make people care about Magic and what it makes Magic, then I think long-term, maybe Magic is dead. And maybe the year that this death started is 2024. I guess it's only one way to find out, just to march forward, right? So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Stay classy, everybody.